Hello everyone, and today we are going to take a look at the Microsoft Surface, specifically the Microsoft Surface Pro 3, which is a second-hand Surface that I bought and picked up, and we're going to take a look at its gaming performance. Now before we start, as you can see, we're running Sonic Mania here on the Surface Pro. We'll go through the Surface Pro 3 specs that we have. We have the Core i7 variant, so it's the Core i7 4650U to be precise. It is a dual core Core i7 with hyper-threading. It is a 4th gen i7, so it is a Haswell. The system has 8 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM. It also has an Intel HD 5500, which is the onboard iGPU here, and also, so it can turbo up to, in theory, 3.3 gigahertz, but yeah, it's not gonna get there, as we'll see throughout this video. There, you're looking at the MSI Afterburner or the Riva Tuner statistic server thing. So yeah, Sonic Mania 2D game runs fine actually, and this is arguably the newest game that we could get running in that. When did that come out? 2018, 2019? This is the newest game. So for 2D games, yeah, it's fine. And for emulation, it's fine. So yeah, you get 8 gigabytes of RAM, you get a 256 gig SSD in there, which is not too bad, really. Not too bad performance-wise. It boots up fairly quickly. You also get a 1440p, 2560 by 1440 touchscreen. 12-inch touchscreen it is, which is pretty nice actually. The screen on it is excellent there. So this came out in 2014, the Surface Pro 3. But let's go and we'll check out something a bit more intensive. Again, modern games are out in terms of this. It is a tablet for all intents and purposes. I do have the Surface Pro keyboard as well. That came with it. Didn't come with the pen, but I picked one up on Amazon for like £24. Doing really badly here against this thing here. Yeah, we've only got 2 rings left. But anyway, you can, of course, it does only have one USB port, so you can plug an Xbox controller in. So we'll check it out, look at more 3D games, and we'll see if we can get some modern games, and we'll explain some of the downsides to this. You can see the CPU clock speed is a downside there, just as it went up there. But anyway, we will get into that right now. Right, so I did try, we've installed Steam here, and we did try to run Quake on it, the remake of Quake, and it will not run as Vulkan isn't supported on the HD 5500. You need a Skylake CPU to get Vulkan, so that ran. I tried running the original version, but that just crashed to desktop. Right, so seeing as neither versions of Quake work, CSGO then, the tablet meets the minimum requirements, but while downloading CSGO, we're going to take a look at the temperatures here and just show you the problem with the Surface of this age. So we're downloading CSGO on Steam, and the CPU temps are in the 80s here. The CPU temperatures are 85 was the maximum while downloading CSGO. That fills you with confidence, doesn't it? It's just downloading it. Like, it's literally only running Windows, Steam, technically the CPU ID hardware monitor as well. And it's in the 80s. The temperature's getting a little bit better. But yeah, that just fills you with confidence that we'll have the fire extinguisher on standby for this old Haswell CPU then. Right, good news, we made it to download the CSGO. So we're going with 720p and low settings. We're just going to go the show FPS here, because we can't use overlays with CSGO. So we have to go in and set show FPS is set to 0. So we'll set it to 1 so that we can see the frame rate that we get. So again, we've gone with laptop power savings is enabled. We might as well 720p, and everything is on low. We're just gonna go and try the practice with bots, and we'll go back and I'll skip the loading screen for you. Right, so we've loaded into game, and yeah, CSGO's requirements aren't that high, and it's not too bad. Playing with bots, of course, does put more of an emphasis on the CPU. We're getting a lot of screen tearing here, but yeah, it's not. I mean, this is a competitive shooter. Yeah, the specs, system requirements aren't very high for it. But yeah, it's not really playable, to be honest with you. You really need a high frame rate in this game. But yeah, we're using it. I'm using the Surface keyboard as well. So if we're doing badly, we did well. We actually, yeah, as MVP there. So the longer you play it, the more the frame rate goes down. We're just trying Dust 2 here, and yeah, it's not bad. It hovers in the 40s, which for CSGO isn't great. Competitively, it might run better in a real match. Just because the bots aren't, the real players aren't taxing the CPU as much as the bots, so might be a little bit better for that iGPU, but overall it's okay. Could barely shoot things here at this frame rate. So you're in the 30s and the 40s. I did get a nice gun there off of those dudes. That was nice of that bot there. But yeah, nothing really playable. I would say it's not playable. We get with low settings because most people play at low settings on the on CS:GO. We can only capture at 30 FPS. I should point out because we had to use the old Elgato capture card because that was the only one that would recognize the Surface. The Surface Pro 3 does have a. It has a, what's it called again? Is it mini DisplayPort? Mini DisplayPort, that's it. Mini DisplayPort out. So we're running a mini DisplayPort to HDMI. It really gets really bad when we're spectating. God, that really sucks there. I don't want to try a bigger. Is there any bigger maps? I don't really know CS:GO that well, but yeah. Yeah, it really gets below 30 FPS while following a bot around there. So if you're spectating on the match, wow, there's Larry there, the bot. But yeah, that is weird anyway. So we'll go and check out something a bit older. We'll go and check out Half-Life 2 now and see how well that runs. Same engine as CSGO, but it is from 2004. So we'll see if that runs any better. Right then, so Half-Life 2 at 1080p and high settings, and you can see initially things look promising. You're getting above 100 FPS. We're doing Water Hazard because that is quite a nice big open area that we can drive around in. The reflection settings are on, I think Reflect World is on. But you'll see as this goes on, you'll see the problem, and look at that CPU. It's nearly at 90 degrees. Here, and this is the problem the longer that you play, because you can see the clock speed on all the cores and threads just getting lower and lower, and the frame rate gets lower and lower the longer that you play it. I would probably say play it at 720p. I would recommend, just so that the power management between the iGPU and the CPU is kind of better balanced, because you can see we're pushing kind of the GPU, that iGPU to its limit there. It's sort of in the 80s and 90s, and the CPU is way down to like 900 megahertz now, just to stop it setting fire to the world. Essentially, the frame rate does take a huge tanking, and it is kind of a consequence to it running at 800 megahertz here. That's it in its kind of idle state, so it is very, very loud as well. I can't record the audio for this because the Intel driver, the Surface driver, you can't use an Intel driver for this. But you can see here in an indoor area, it's really good. But as soon as we go back outdoor and interact with these barrels here and do the physics puzzle out here, the frame rate is back below 60, because again, that is more taxing on that CPU. You can see the iGPU usage falling down a little bit. The VRAM is fine, and the system RAM. We've got 8 gigabytes in total. I think it only has what, 1 gigabyte dedicated for the VRAM though, I think, and the rest is obviously, so it shares the system RAM. It is only DDR3. I think it's 1600 megahertz it is, or it might be 1333. I can't remember. But yeah, it is sharing the memory bandwidth between the graphics and the system. But yeah, that's just the nature of an iGPU. You can see here where it's playable. I mean, I would argue Half-Life is playable. I mean, this is 1080p. So the PC I built Half-Life 2 for in 2000 and late 2004, early 2005. It had a single core. That was a single core Athlon 64. I can't remember the model number. It had an ATI. What was it? ATI. It was a Radeon. I can't remember. It was an X1800 Pro. That's what it was. I'm sorry, no, X800, not X1800. It was the one before that. So the X800 Pro, and I think that had 1 gig of V. No, I had no 25. I think it was 256 megs of VRAM. I think it was something like that, or 512. Something like, it wasn't a gigabyte. I think that was later on that we got that. But yeah, that's what I built to run Half-Life 2. And to be honest, this is not bad. This is actually not bad. This is a game from 2004. We're running on a device that was released in 2014. We should point out here. But yeah, as soon as we get into you see with the Combine troops there loading in, it really tanks the frame rate because now the CPU is having to handle all their AI and their animations, etc. So they're having to handle them, and you can see the frame rate tanking below 30 FPS in some areas, while that the little dropship there is getting them there. And this is probably, I say this is one of the hardest areas to run. Just because there's a lot of the reflections there. There's a lot of, again, we've got the AI troops there. We're going to try and run them over there. I don't know if we got them, but as soon as we interact with them, it starts to, really tank the frame rate. It is playable, though, if you want to try Half-Life 2 on the go. We should point out, we're using a mouse and keyboard. You can plug in an Xbox controller and do this. I plugged in a mouse, really, using the Surface keyboard, which isn't the best for gaming, to be honest. It is just the Surface Pro, the Microsoft keyboard that comes with it here. But as you can see, when there's no enemies on screen, it's not too bad. Like, it's really not too bad, the performance here. That CPU is thermally throttled into the ground, probably because the iGPU is being pushed as well. If we lowered the resolution, we would maybe get a better overall performance. That's why I think that it may be better. The screen tearing is there because the capture card can only capture at 30 hertz, 30 FPS. So that's why there's screen tearing there. So there's nothing we can really do about that. I did try my new capture card. I tried my Razer Ripsaw HD. But watch this when the enemy spawns here. See, the frame rate tanks as soon as the head crab zombie spawned there. I mean, as soon as they spawned, the frame rate. And now that they're dead, the frame rate's sort of creeping back up there as we found this sort of secret location there. But anyway, we will move on to really the main use of this, and that's cloud gaming. That's one of the good things about this Surface Pro, is that I would recommend it for cloud gaming. So we'll go and check out and see how it performs with that. We'll do some direct capture and some off-screen capture as well for the cloud gaming. Alright, so we're going to be using Xcloud, and we're running it via a web browser. As you can see, there's no app for Windows, which is a bit weird. So we're going to try Psychonauts 2 then, which is, one of the latest games from Xbox. I think it's the Xbox One S version that you get via Xcloud, and let's see how that performs when we get into gameplay. Okay, so as we get into gameplay, I went full screen in Psychonauts 2, and it actually runs pretty well. We'll turn the vertical on. Again, you can just plug in an Xbox controller. You can use the touchscreen controls, but I wouldn't recommend it. The best way is just to plug in an Xbox controller. A little bit of a skip there in the capture there, so... but yeah, it looks alright to me. It looks alright on the little screen, on the 12-inch screen. It looks fine. Again, it's I think it is just the base Xbox version that you get on the streaming. Although there is Microsoft will say that they're going to upgrade it to include Xbox Series X version. So that looks pretty interesting. But yeah, Psychonauts 2. It runs fine, it's running okay here. Not really skipping much. You can read the text fine on the screen. You can read it on the video capture. Again, this is going via the capture card. We'll show you some off-screen footage just to see that. But yeah, everything looks alright for playing on like a tablet essentially. Or we're not playing on the tablet, we're playing on the cloud and streaming to the tablet. But yeah, it copes well. I should point out that we do meet the requirements in terms of internet connection. So mileage may vary depending on, like, where you are, also where you are in relation to the Wi-Fi. I can't get over that. Jump twice. There you go. Double jump. There you go. God, I was like that guy from, look, that journalist guy that couldn't jump over the thing in Cuphead. Jesus, that was bad. Jump and dash, really. But yeah, everything is good here, so we'll go and check out something else. Do you know what we're gonna check out? Doom Eternal, I think. That's really a terrible idea. So we'll look at that off screen now. All right, so let's go and take a look at Doom Eternal. Again, we're just recording off screen, as you can see with the keyboard there. We just darkened everything. And let's see if we can run this. This is a bad idea. 2 ways that you should never play Doom Eternal. Number 1, with a controller. Really should play with a mouse and keyboard. Although I don't know if we can play with a mouse and keyboard on this. I don't know. We could certainly play with the touchscreen, which no. So there we go. We've got the QuakeCon bundle. I don't have any saves, I don't think. I think I've got an Xbox save. Oh yeah, we have got a save because we did play it on the Xbox. So this is the Xbox version. Hell on earth, hurt me plenty. Yeah, we're gonna get hurt plenty by this. Let's see if we can do it, if we can run Doom. And it actually, in terms of its looks, it looks okay on that small screen. Again, it is only a 12-inch 1440p screen, but I think the quality of the screen is pretty nice. Like, it's pretty nice. The game looks pretty good. It is kind of laggy, and I really don't know how to change guns. Let's go to gameplay then, and see if we can kill some demons then. All right, let's go do this. Let's go kill some demons then. So there we go. Oh, that was a bit late. Grabbing the wall there. Let's go jump across. Jump. Oh. Oh. That was. It wouldn't let me double jump. What was that? Uh-oh. This is gonna be. What? No! It double jumped late. Oh man. Oh yeah. This is very, very laggy. Right, we got on the wall there. Let's see if we can jump. Come on, do it. Double jump! No! He punched though. I just got a single jump there instead of a double jump. Double jump there. Worked fine. I don't know the buttons on the controller either. There, whoa! There you go. Third time lucky. There we go. We made it. Well done, Doom guy. Oh, this is gonna be bad. You kind of know this is gonna be bad. Let's go kill this dude. Glory kill him. Oh crap, we missed him. We missed him at close range. Yeah, there's a lot of... There we go. Get some armor back. It's a combination of me not knowing the button. I've always played this with mouse and keyboard. But yeah, the quality's good. The input latency, though, is noticeable. Doom Eternal is one of those games where you're gonna notice it because it is a fast-paced shooter. So, whoa, I got him. Yeah, whoa, the analog just doesn't respond to you. Can't jump up there. I tried to jump up there and just failed completely. Alright, let's go and shoot this dude. There you go, I got him. Got that imp. Chopped his head off. Stupid imp. Bad imp. No! There you go, we'll chainsaw him. We'll just chainsaw him. Nice cacodemon. Nice cacodemon. Did we get him? No, I didn't. No, I didn't put the thing. I'm gonna die. There you go. Glory kill. Oh, this is like the second level in the game. And we're dying. We got an achievement at least. We've achieved something. Not quite sure what it is. I don't know. I don't want the big dude to spawn. Get him killed with a glory kill. Oh man, I wouldn't recommend this. Doom Eternal. Psychonauts was alright because it's a platform. We played a lot further into Psychonauts, but it's a platformer and you can kind of get away with it. Whoa. And it kind of runs at 30 FPS on the, probably will run on the Xbox One S at 30 FPS at least. You'd imagine the series. I'm stuck. Oh, bad. Bad. Oh, yeah, I can't really avoid him. That's really, whoa. We got him, though. We actually got him there. So, yeah, Doom Eternal, not recommended with a controller. So we'll check out Forza Horizon 4 then. Yeah, Forza Horizon 4. 5's a new one that's coming out. Yeah, so Forza Horizon 4 it's not great either, to be honest with you, because I would make sure you put the assists on, see, because things are kind of delayed with like the steering and the kind of braking and the throttle. You also have to brake a little bit earlier, and it is very kind of difficult. Again, we're shooting this off screen, and the quality is okay. It's just kind of the input latency just doesn't. The car just doesn't feel right. Like when you play it on a real PC or a real Xbox, it just doesn't feel right. It just feels like there is a delay there. You notice it particularly during races if you have to take avoiding action. We did have a head-on collision there. I think it was with a Bugatti Veyron. We crashed our Escort Cosworth into a Bugatti Veyron there. But yeah, Forza Horizon, it's not the best. For an arcade racer, make sure you put the assists on and things like that. Just to make it a little bit easier to drive because, yeah, you've got to brake a little bit later, turn in that little bit earlier, and the car handling feels a bit snappy, to be honest, just because you don't have that instant response. I don't know if it's maybe I haven't played Forza Horizon for a while and not used to it, or maybe it is the lag. I hit a mini there. But yeah, I just didn't feel like it was very responsive there. So we'll move on to look at emulation next. Let's see how well it can do emulation then. Right, so Resident Evil 4 then in the village, not Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil 4 running on Dolphin. It kind of runs, this is 720p that we're running. I would actually recommend just running it at native. 720p it's okay, but it does have dips, and as you can see, every time there's a scene transition, there's a massive pause. I don't have the frame time graph. I could have put that up there, and you'd have seen a massive spike there. The frame rate it's not the most even of frame pacing in Dolphin though, so it does look a bit jittery than the 30 FPS that is shown. We'll skip along to the village, not Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 4 in the village. Remember that. And we'll see how it performs there. Right, here we go. This is the first big action area of the game, and as you can see, yeah, it really isn't capable of doing it. Really, the CPU it's not too bad. I mean, considering this is an iGPU running GameCube emulation, and it is running in HD, it's 720p. But I would suggest, I mean, the iGPU really isn't taxed, so it's more CPU bound. So I would actually recommend turning the resolution down. Again, just the power management of the iGPU. You can see the big pause there. It dips to 6 FPS when you get the cutscene, when you get more enemies spawning there. The GameCube version of Resident Evil 4, I will point out, the cutscenes are all in real time, not like the PlayStation 2 version that had pre-rendered cutscenes. And I think most other versions of Resi 4 used real-time cutscenes, so we're just going to get through the door here. We'll go through the door. It's a bit hard to handle. We're using a controller as well for this. So yeah, Xbox controller there just plugs into the single USB port that you've got. But yeah, the cutscene actually, the real-time cutscene isn't too bad actually. Again, the PS2 version uses a pre-rendered cutscene for all the cutscenes, whereas the GameCube and I think all the other remakes over the years, the PS3, PS4, Xbox versions, they all use the GameCube cutscenes. I think the Wii version as well, that used the real-time cutscenes. So it's a bit strange, the PS2 version. So that's why we're testing it. I haven't tested the PS2 emulator because if it can't run Dolphin, it's not going to run PCSX2. Simple as that. But yeah, the CPU is doing not too bad. Again, the further you play on, the more the temperature creeps up, and that is a problem. And people say, why don't you just repaste the CPU? Taking apart a Microsoft Surface is quite difficult. You've got to have a heat gun, and you've got to have the equipment to take it apart. It's not like a laptop where you can just use screws. You just undo the screws, and it's easy enough to repaste the CPU. It does need a repaste, I would say, the processor. I also have no audio, capturing audio as well, with no means of capturing audio here. Just because the Microsoft Surface driver, it doesn't use the Intel driver. You have to get the driver from Microsoft, and it doesn't support HDMI audio. I mean, it's a mini DisplayPort, which does carry audio. DisplayPort can carry audio out, but yeah, it just doesn't handle it very well. So let's move on to something that's unfair. Let's see if it can run Rogue Squadron 2 then. All right then, so this is arguably the most difficult GameCube game to run. Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader. We're running at 720p here, and on the Nvidia Shield, we couldn't get past the dancing stormtroopers, the dancing stormtrooper LucasArts logo. So let's see if we can do that in this one. It's thinking about it. There you go. There's the little dancing stormtroopers. You can see there. Yeah, so this actually runs better than the Nvidia Shield. It is a 60 FPS game. But this was an amazingly difficult game to run on an emulator. Like PCs couldn't run this till a few years ago. So there you go. It actually got further than the Nvidia Shield there. That's quite impressive. All right then, as we get into actual gameplay, I love the way they recreated the sort of final battle in Episode 4. It's really good the way they did that on the GameCube. Factor 5 were amazing. Factor 5 were geniuses in this, and it's such a good looking game. Even in this day and age, it's still a good looking game, especially on Dolphin when you can crank the resolution up. This is 720p that we're running at, but it's still a really good looking game. But will we be able to play it? We've already made it further than the Nvidia Shield, and the answer to that is no. It's not really playable. I would say it doesn't play at full speed. As you can see, it's struggling to even hit. This was a 60 FPS game. Bear in mind, so full speed is 60 FPS, and it's not even running at half the speed. But it's still better than I thought it would do. Like PCs, high-end PCs from a few years ago, really struggled with this game. So yeah, we're in the single-digit frame rates. We haven't even made it to gameplay. We're in sort of rendered in-game cutscene. All right, here we go. 27 FPS. Can we blow stuff up? Can we blow up the Death Star in this? And yeah, it's not really playable. All those particle effects when we blow up the tower. Again, Factor 5 were just geniuses. This is the hardest to run GameCube game that we're giving it. This is a real test for that little tablet i7 there. Again, it's right down. The CPU temperature is way down. The CPU clock speed is way down there to cope with it. The GPU is not really being taxed. Again, I would suggest don't run it on 720p just because it will not run at all. So there you go. Not really playable, but again, not really fair on it because again, high-end PCs kind of struggle with this game. It is it is a very, very good looking game for GameCube era. Just look at even though we're souping them up a little bit, we're not using any other enhancements, obviously. But yeah, Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader is just an amazing technical achievement for the GameCube. So if you've watched any of my videos on emulation before, you'll know it's now a legally requirement to do a Timesplitters game. And Timesplitters Future Perfect at native resolution, yeah, it's not great really. To be honest with you, we do at native resolution. You can see the CPU clock speed is a bit higher. Again, this is a 60 FPS game. So it's running in the 50s, it's not running at full speed, but it's not too bad. We just tried the opening level of Timesplitters 2. They're a bit better than the Xbox emulator running it. But other than that, nah, I wouldn't say it's playable. We're in the 40s now, there's a lot of enemies on screen. There again, it's just too much for the CPU. The CPU clock speed though has gone up. You can see because the GPU usage has gone down, the power can now be sent more to the CPU. Again, limited power on a mobile device, so it does improve it. So again, I would recommend if you're going to run Dolphin, native res is the way to go with Dolphin there. So in conclusion then, is it worth getting a Microsoft Surface Pro 3 for gaming? If you want to run older games, it's not so bad. Again, the limitations are this is, it's what, 8 years old now, the tablet. Really, we should really be able to do maintenance on it, taking it apart and being able to, repaste the CPU and clean out the fans should be something we should be doing really on this. It might get us better performance and it be quieter because it is very noisy when it turbos up that fan. There, what it does is it goes in and just runs the fan, and it's just so damn noisy there. Yeah, so we did also get Quake to run on there. We'll go for easy mode because it's the N64 version, and we're using again RetroArch here. It is a bit kind of flickery and stuttery, but this just highlights the issue as well that N64 emulation is a bit of a struggle, just because of the CPU throttling. So again, I would prefer. I don't know if you shouldn't buy one of these for gaming, unless you're doing like light 2D gaming is fine. Like unless you want to do 2D gaming, but yeah, you don't even get the selection, the difficulty selection on the N64 version of Quake. And down in the D-pad is the jump button, which is weird on the N64. I always thought. So yeah, you can see it here. This is just Mupen 64 running in RetroArch. Again, it's quite good for the 2D emulation. If you want to run games from like the early 2000s, native PC games from the early 2000s or the late 90s, then it's not a bad little choice. And it is portable as well if you want a little portable device, although probably just wait. This was cheaper than a Steam Deck. Maybe probably the Steam Deck will outperform it because it has an actual GPU and it has a much better CPU in there. 4 cores and 8 threads, and it's a Zen 2. Zen 2 released in 2019. This is a CPU from 2013 in a 2014 device. I did jump across. Yay! Pressing down on the D-pad. Look at that. I made it across. Miracles happen. This is a tough game to control, by the way. That enemy's not there. So we did get to run Quake on it. We couldn't run the modern port of Quake. We had to run the N64 version via RetroArch. And I couldn't even get the original version of Quake to run, which is kind of sad, really. It just crashed to desktop. Wouldn't run. Didn't really spend a lot of time figuring out how to get it to run, but I guess you could maybe try and get it to run. But yeah, the Surface Pro 3 is probably too old. If you want Vulkan, the requirements for Vulkan on the Intel iGPUs are Skylake minimum, so you need a 6 series. Yeah, so the Surface Pro 4 had a 6th gen Intel CPU, so that would have probably ran Quake. Again, so it cost me £289. So yeah, if you wanted this or a Steam Deck, get a Steam Deck, definitely. I think the Steam Deck is way better hardware. And this isn't a gaming device. It isn't designed to run gaming applications. We blew up the nuclear thing and it didn't kill anything. We only got one dude in it. It's maybe just because we're playing on easy mode, maybe? Because normal mode would be way too difficult on the N64. It's just the controller isn't great. Really, we're not even using a real N64 controller. I'm using an Xbox controller. Yeah, there is less. There's only 2 dudes there instead of 3. Maybe it's just the limitations of the N64 version, or maybe it's maybe it's just because we're playing on easy again. I don't know. Maybe. There we got the nail gun again. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. Older games, not too bad. Again, you'll see as this gets on, the frame rate struggling to hit 60 now as the clock speed on the CPU just drifts downwards. You can see that temperature as it gets close to 80 degrees there. You'll see there that it just kind of struggles. I've pressed the Xbox button for some reason on the controller. I was trying to get to the RetroArch menu. I forget what that is now. There. But anyway, I will leave you with some Quake 2 footage. We can do the thing, but trying to aim up is so difficult because, you can jump in Quake at least. But anyway, that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.